So welcome to the welcome to the 18th annual celebrity event fundraiser. The last 2 years we've had an evening event, hence the name Soirée. And the first 16 events were called Celebrity Breakfast. And I want to quickly acknowledge the founder of this event, who is up from South Carolina with his lovely wife Peggy. You know him, Phil Shalala. Phil? There he is. Quick up and down. Quick up and down, thank you. There are many people to thank tonight and to be grateful for. First, thanks to all of you, our supporters and our donors, for not only coming out tonight, but also for staying and believing in us for the last 2 difficult years. And our sponsors, of course. Many thanks to our sponsors who are with us tonight in support of our mission and the work that we do. And thank you to the many partners in our community who help New Covenant Center throughout the year. I am grateful to our Celebrity Soiree Committee, our event chair, Andy Parker, and our event manager, Ashley Keller, for making this event happen tonight. Thank you to Tom Kane. Thank you to Tom Kane, New Covenant Center's Advisory Board Chairman, and his 12 board members who have been so instrumental to me and our staff in getting through our tough operational and fundraising challenges. Thank you, Tom. I am also grateful to the entire senior team of Catholic Charities, led by Mike Donahue, for their daily support of New Covenant Center staff in providing all of the help that they do in so many areas. March 16th, 2020, we'll never forget it at New Covenant Center, the day that we decided to transition our inside meal service to a grab-and-go operation. And within 2 to 3 weeks, we were preparing 600 to 700 meals a day, up from 175 a day, which continued at that level for more than a year. We weren't World Central Kitchen, we're Stanford Central Kitchen, but we covered a lot of territory. Our chefs, with the incredible support of so many people from area restaurants, caterers, and volunteers who are now sequestered in their homes, were making daily meals and sandwich bags for both our walk-up guests and the hundreds more that we fed to the many clients of such partners in our area as Building One Community, Inspirica House, Pacific House, Always Reaching for Independence, you probably know them as ARI, and many others. Also, our food pantry remained open 3 days every week during the pandemic for in-person shopping and for emergency groceries. We haven't missed a day during COVID, which is a testament to our staff's resolve. They risked their health to carry out our mission that no one should go hungry in our community. And I am going to take a minute or so here to recognize each of them. In the back, please, Betsy Lopez, if you could raise your hand nice and high. David Lovegreen, our volunteer coordinator. David. Raphael Hilaire, our food pantry coordinator. Raphael, did you like how it flowed off my mind? Raphael Hilaire. Okay. Lisa Hines Simpson in the corner. Maria Lagos, our longtime head chef, and Merritt Freeman weren't here tonight, can't be here tonight. Our newest addition to the kitchen staff, full-time, is Chef Renee Telez, next to Betsy Lopez. Betsy's Linda Williams here tonight. Okay, Linda Williams, who assists Raphael in the food pantry, does a great job. And we have a few others as well. So we are not here today if it's not for the hundreds of volunteers who continued, either at our center or in their homes, doing a lot of incredible things like providing meals, sandwiches, groceries, toiletry and personal hygiene products, and crucial extremity clothing for our guests. Volunteers are the backbone of New Covenant Center. We really need all of you to help out when you can. And as an appeal tonight, we could always use more volunteers, especially in our food pantry, so please contact our volunteer coordinator, David Lovegreen, if you're interested. Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce longtime New Covenant Center supporter Linda Coe, who along with Moira Colangelo founded our Harvest Table fundraiser 11 years ago, which we hold every fall. Please mark your date, November 3rd at the Italian Center. So she has a special award to present to one of our volunteers. Linda?
Thanks, John. I'd like to take just a few minutes to introduce Karen McNair, our Founders Award recipient. She is someone that a friend of ours once described as a blazing heart of loving energy. And that heart exhibits itself in so many ways. So trust me, what I'm going to tell you is just the Reader's Digest version of Karen. I met Karen in 2016 when I was co-chairing Harvest Table, one of our fundraisers, and our silent auction chairman had moved out of town. We needed help ASAP. So I met Karen and with some trepidation reached out and said, "Guys, do you think you could help us?" Because I knew she had a big job, knew she was busy, but to my relief, she said yes. So before Karen joined us, my basement was the holding center for the auction items, somewhere between the furnace and Bruce's power saw. But after Karen stepped in, her living room began to look like Saks Fifth Avenue gift boutique. Everything was beautifully bagged, bowed, basketed, labeled, organized. Her attention to detail was absolutely stunning, and her composure was awe-inspiring. And the rest is history. Due to her efforts, the silent auction raised tens of thousands of dollars over the years to help New Covenant Center. But what you need to know is that's only one example of what makes Karen the perfect choice for the Founders Award. She served on the New Covenant Center board, but she's also rolled up her sleeves and she's helped volunteer in the pantry. She's also cooked in the kitchen. She has rallied her company employees to conduct food drives and turkey drives and to help with a Christmas lunch every December. Her loving energy does not stop there. She recently joined the board of Food Rescue US, which is an organization that picks up food that otherwise would be discarded and delivers it to agencies that are feeding people. And one of those agencies is New Covenant Center. So, wherever Karen's blazing heart is, her loving energy is everywhere, and we are all the better for it. So congratulations, Karen.
Thank you so much, Linda. Sarita reminded me that this has to be brief, so I hope I stay on point. But Linda, thank you for your perseverance. This woman actually tracked me down on a business trip in Cincinnati to see if I would accept doing the silent auction job. And I told her, I've never done anything like that. What makes you think I'm going to do a good job with this? And you're calling me at 10 o'clock at night in Cincinnati. And needless to say, I went ahead and did it. I have a love for nonprofit work, volunteerism, fundraising. So this wasn't a huge leap for me to try to do this. So I want to thank John, the New Covenant Center staff, the advisory board for this gracious award, which I share with volunteers, donors, corporate partners that come through the New Covenant Center doors every day. I want to make sure that I thank my family and friends who have come out tonight. My brother has come from Baltimore. A stray cousin from the Dominican Republic, my cousin Jimmy from New Jersey. My dear friend Juanita, my friend Joanna. I can't name everybody, but because I've got a big contingency of people here, but community leaders that I've asked to come out just to see what goes on here at New Covenant Center and get a sense for how they share the same mission of helping Stanford's disadvantaged and food insecure. Thanks to my employer of 15 years, AXA XL. Oh my goodness. They are a shining example of how a global corporation can effectively be involved in social and humanitarianism needs of the communities in which they do business. I have several AXA colleagues here tonight, and thank you so much for coming out. Mark D. Toronto, who is the head of the claims department, who spearheaded the sponsorship for this event tonight. Thank you so much, Mark, for doing the work for me this time. I so appreciate it. AXA's simple slogan, I don't know if anyone has seen the ad that AXA ran, but the slogan was, "What good shall I do this day?" And that slogan really mirrors my life and the way that I see the world. It's complicated and often unjust, and hunger issues and food insecurity permeate ecology, energy, civil rights, economics, politics, and the future of mankind in general. And hunger is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I have asked myself, what can I do? How do I make a small change to the trajectory of a lot of issues involving food insecurity? So I volunteer here at New Covenant Center because feeding people, giving them sustenance, provides an immediate and visceral impact that gives and promotes life. I am proud to work with NCC. I am proud to work with Food Rescue now. And I know that there are better days to come. NCC is an operation that is a frontline, vital system that during the pandemic served an unprecedented demand and need for emergency food. And I am honored to be a part of that. So my philanthropic journey continues in part to my mentor here. And I challenge you all to find a need in your own communities. If it's not New Covenant Center, which we certainly can use you here, but find a need in your own communities and volunteer, donate, fundraise, and get your children involved. They are the future, and it's never too early. So thank you again for this award. How do I get down? Oh.
Now you can see Phil Shalala very closely, who is talking with the carrot.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, one more. I'm taking up my 2 minutes, Kyle.
There's joy over here. Thank you, Karen. It's been wonderful working with you and continuing to work with you. So, the pandemic has shown us that our health, our family and friends, our jobs, and our ability to have basic utilities, like you just said, Karen, like a bed and food, can be taken away from us. Sometimes hardship is right around the corner. One doesn't know who may need food or who is struggling. The fear that I have seen from the pandemic, such as the speed that can occur from apparent security to insecurity, is really very difficult. It has opened my eyes, but more so my heart, and the hearts of our staff and our volunteers and donors to try to help those who really need it the most. Looking ahead now, while our food pantry has been open for inside shopping throughout COVID, we have been distributing grab-and-go lunches and dinners every day for our guests for over 2 years. But almost 2 months ago, we started having vaccinated guests coming inside for meals to eat their lunches and dinners. But surprisingly, the numbers of eligible inside diners have been very low, as most have told us that they have adjusted to either eating their meals elsewhere or having to get back to work, which is a good thing. We'll have to see, but it is possible that some of our guests will opt to eat outside as the months get warmer. But maybe when we restart our shower program, which is very crucial to our guests, and then reopen our day shelter, hopefully they will come back inside. But it appears that our grab-and-go meal service will continue, and possibly as a second option to inside dining in the foreseeable future. Additionally, our food pantry continues to be open for inside shopping, and we have also been transitioning them so that only vaccinated guests will be shopping inside, while the non-vaccinated will receive their groceries in a to-go style that'll be packed by staff and volunteers. We will be bringing back the Title V federal program that gives 55 and older adults a chance to learn new job skills at New Covenant Center in the areas of food support and maintenance. That's subsidized by the government. Prior to the pandemic, we employed 4 of these people at New Covenant Center, including 1 current full-time and 2 part-time staff. Through Catholic Charities of Fairfield County, we also offer the wonderful family loan program that gives families with poor credit history the opportunity to buy a used car, pay for child care expenses or security deposits to enable them to maintain employment. We lend money to those families at 5.5% versus the often 30% plus rates that a payday lender charges. Additionally, there is an important financial education and counseling piece to the family loan program. We also have a dedicated bilingual person who helps those seeking SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. You may know it as food stamps in the past, with the application process as well as advocating for those benefits. And the last new announcement that I would like to make is that New Covenant Center will be investing in at least 1 caseworker who will work more closely with our guests and clients who want a hand up, not just a handout, a hand up, to ultimately become sufficient. To accomplish this, our caseworker and other members of our team will work with Catholic Charities Community Advocacy Program, who will do far more than just make referrals, but rather they will vet and identify resources that our guests can tap into throughout Fairfield County. We are doing so much for so many, and we hope you will continue to support us in keeping this important work going. Thank you so much. So now, one of my favorite parts, I would like to take you all inside New Covenant Center and have you listen to those who depend on us for that hand up.
Hola René.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me da mucho gusto saludar. Me va muy bien, cocinando como siempre y haciéndolo con mucho gusto. Pero el ingrediente principal de la comida es hacer las cosas con amor, con dedicación, con profesionalismo, con limpieza. Porque va dedicado a los seres humanos y va dedicado a todas las personas que degustan de esta comida.
New Covenant Center touches a really broad range of people. A lot of them are people like you and I who had a home, who had a mortgage, who had a car, who had a job. And all of a sudden you lose your ability to make income and then becomes a spiral downward.
I've been to the mountaintop and I've been to the valley, trying to make my way back up to somewhere in between. I only stumbled across this as I was walking past the building. Perhaps God sent me this way on that particular day. I guess the most important aspect of an institution like New Covenant is that it gives people a sense of hope to move forward to the next day.
As most of us know, Fairfield County is generally a wealthy county, but unfortunately, income inequality is #1 in the country. Housing costs have gone up, food costs have gone up, gas costs have gone up. There are people who are really struggling out there to put food on the table and pay their rent.
I was going through like a really bad time with my family because they were in a flood and I had everyone living with me, you know, and it was like the most difficult time. It was during the pandemic too. So, you know, Lisa and the staff here like really helped me, you know, emotionally, you know, as far as nutrition, you know, we didn't go hungry. And if we didn't have this help, we definitely would have went hungry. So, you know, like I am so devoted to, you know, and appreciative of this program.
Okay, so good. Hold on.
So at Catholic Charities, our big focus is on trying to give our guests a hand up, not a handout. Now that people are allowed to come back, we want to do some of the things we used to do before. We're adding case managers so we can sit down and work with clients and figure out, okay, how can we get them the services they need? And we think it's really important to try to get our guests towards self-sufficiency.
4 years ago, I was homeless basically. I didn't have a family or nothing. I didn't have nobody to go with. And I remember seeing Lisa the first time and started giving me clothes, and I started feeling like I had at least somebody. I had hope on somebody again. And that's why I got my second chance. And now I'm an outreach worker. In the little time that I got promoted to outreach, I housed people already, and the feeling of giving their keys and giving them their place too. They can go to sleep every day. You don't have to sleep in the streets or in the train station again. So it is a great feeling now.
Where do you see New Covenant Center fitting into the landscape of your strategy to help the disadvantaged?
I think New Covenant Center is such an integral part of our community, of our social service sector to serve those who are most vulnerable. We've got so many people in our city right now who are struggling with inflation and rising cost of living and people who don't know where their next meal is going to be. And that's where a New Covenant Center comes in, not only to provide that meal, but to provide that dignity that we talked about and that financial support and to help create more economic self-sufficiency for families. And so we really look forward to partnering with you as a city and are just grateful for the integral role you play for so many families in need.
Mayor, we are one community.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andy Parker, and I'm on the board of the New Covenant Center. And we are really lucky to have Andrew Yang here to speak with us this evening. But before I give him the podium, I want to give you a brief introduction. We'll start with the basics. Andrew went to Brown University, and after graduation, he went to Columbia Law School. And I think like most of his peers after Columbia, he joined a large New York-based law firm. But I don't think that lasts long. Andrew, you can correct me, but I think that might be less than a year where his entrepreneurial spirit kind of pulled him away. So after that, he went to work as a lawyer and an executive for a couple of early stage technology companies. And then he was CEO of an education company, which ultimately became #1 in the United States and was acquired. So that's, I think, probably stage 1 of Andrew's career. Stage 2 is his next focus was launching an organization called Venture for America. So VFA, it's sort of like Teach for America, where they try to incent young people to become teachers. Venture for America tries to empower young people to become entrepreneurs. So what happens is VFA interviews over 1,000 predominantly college seniors every year, and they go through a fairly rigorous interview process, and of the 1,000 or so, they select maybe 10 or 12%. And after a 6-week boot camp, they place them with startups or new businesses in cities across America. But I think the coolest thing is that the cities that they select are cities that need an economic boost. I think the first city was Detroit, followed by Philadelphia and Baltimore. I think there are 13 cities. And I think what's interesting is that, most of people that are entrepreneurs, they create a product and they build a business around it, and they try to grow it, and they try to sell it, and they try to make money. And Andrew has really been focused primarily on helping people and making America a better place. So I could stop right there. That's a heck of a resume. But let me tell you a little bit more. So I got to know Andrew when he asked me to be on the board of Venture for America. And after a couple of years, at one of the board meetings, he stood up and he said, "Guys, I'm stepping down. I've built an organization here that is fully able to function on its own. I like to build things. I don't like to preside over them. And so I'm going to leave VFA." And we all said, "Okay, we understand. What are you going to do?" And he said, "I'm going to run for president of the United States." And so, we said, "Wow. We wish you the best of luck." And I think that, inside we all thought, gee, that's a pretty tall order. I think a year later, I was sitting on my couch on a Sunday morning, and I see him on Meet the Press. So I think this is really one of the most incredible instances of hard work, creativity, mental toughness, inspiring others that I've ever seen. So one of my favorite photos, and I think they may be able to put it up here, is that's Andrew and me. I was an early small donor to his presidential campaign, and he ended up raising close to $40 million in grassroots funds. But I think going back to his goals and objectives, I think that one of the key planks to his presidential platform was to make sure that needy people in America were taken care of. So I think that's exactly what we're doing here at New Covenant Center. And I think that's the key reason that we asked him to come and speak. So with that, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Yang to come and speak with us.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. It's great to be able to address your president and the mayor of nearby New York City. If I remember right, because I grew up in Westchester, you probably were subject to the ads during my mayoral campaign, right? Because you're in the New York media market, right? I had to ride that roller coaster multiple times because they were like, oh, you know, we need a better take, we need a better take. So my wife, being a rock star, you know, went on the coaster multiple times with me. And that's actually something of a metaphor of the last number of years of our marriage. When I told her, it's like, hey, I think I'm gonna run for president. You know, if she knew that I was ever going to go political when we were dating, she would have run the other direction very, very quickly. So when Andy asked me to speak tonight, primarily because, as you can all tell, Andy's a great guy and a great friend, and so, you know, like, if a friend asks you to do something, you think, let me see if I can make it happen. But fundamentally, the work you all do here at New Covenant Center is so profound and awesome and human that it warmed my heart to be considered, really, to be considered someone who'd be appropriate for an organization like this. Food is near and dear to all of us. I'm Asian, you probably noticed. So, I mean, food's how we show love. You know, like, our parents are actually bad at expressing love in other ways. They'll take some food and bring it your way. But the tagline of the presidential campaign was humanity first, which I dare say also could easily be the slogan for something like New Covenant Center, because when people come, they're treated as human beings first and foremost. They're guests. You can tell there's so much care and love that goes into the offering, the way people are treated. And I dare say that may be the most fundamental value that New Covenant Center brings, that people come in and then they feel uplifted, they feel elevated, they feel like they matter. And too many people in this country now don't really feel that way. Certainly on a political level, they feel unheard and dismissed and irrelevant. So you had a little bit of a sense of my background, but I did grow up in Westchester County, which is, I dare say, something of a spiritual cousin to this part of Connecticut. And I grew up in a relatively prosperous, affluent environment. I went to Phillips Exeter. I know at least one other person did that, which also was in a very well-to-do environment. Went to Brown and Columbia, as you heard. And so I've been in environments where we did not necessarily experience day-to-day deprivation or scarcity at that level. It's a matter of course. Like, that wasn't the nature of the obstacle that I encountered when I was young. But as part of that, and I think this is one reason why you're all here tonight, is that you feel like we can do better than that for people. Like, when you encounter folks who are struggling on that level, you think, we can totally fix that. That is actually unnecessary. You know, like, we have the level of resources where we can address something as basic as hunger or a warm shower or a roof over your head, or feeling like you're a part of the human race, really, or society. And so that's what I took with me from my adolescence. But I really got activated when Donald Trump became our president in 2016. And you all remember that night well. And so the conversation that Andy describes when I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna leave to run for president of the United States, that was in 2017. You know, like, 2016 happens, and then I'm like, okay, like, this is going very poorly. The country doesn't seem to understand what's happening to it or what it's going through. And so I decided to try and make a case that was not mine. So what do I mean by that? You all remember, and the time you met me during the presidential campaign was probably during one of the debates where you turn on the TV and we're like, huh, different, like, Asian guy, like, I should Google him and see what the heck, you know, where he came from. Thanks. I mean, that was the experience, right? So the two things that probably hit your radar was Asian guy running for president, and he wants to give everyone money. That was like the give everyone $1,000 a month. And when you first heard that, you were like, okay, gimmick candidate, you know, rent is too high guy or something like that. But the truth is that the universal basic income I was championing was not my idea. It was something that was championed by Martin Luther King in the 60s before he was assassinated. It was championed by Thomas Paine at the founding of the country. There have been prominent thinkers throughout American life who've said, look, if you're a citizen, we should put some resources directly into your hands and give you the opportunity to improve your own lot with them. They believe that individuals have a higher capacity to do that than perhaps our government. And so I thought that this was a very important case, and what started out as something that seemed fanciful or esoteric to many ended up becoming mainstream policy wisdom, where now, as we're here today, hundreds of cities are piloting some version of this, and 65% of Americans want it to be the law of the land. If it was that high when I was running for president, I genuinely might be our president today, you know? So the campaign ended up trying to make a case or a positive vision that we genuinely can do better for ourselves and the neediest among us. We are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. As the math guy, you know, our resources are approximately $76,000 per head in this country, which I'm going to suggest to you all is enough for us to meet people's basic needs. You know, it's like like you don't need 76,000 to meet people's basic needs. So I'm grateful to everyone who helped me make that case. And the case I'm making now is that, unfortunately, the needs that New Covenant Center and you all are addressing are going to persist in large part because our political system has seized up and become so dysfunctional and our society has become so polarized. Right now, 42% of people on either side of the aisle regard the other side as immoral, corrupt, a threat to the country. I dare say that many of you know people who are both Democrats and Republicans, and you don't regard them as either of those things. And you certainly don't regard the people you work with and serve or as volunteers within this organization through some kind of polarized partisan lens. You see them as fellow people, community members, volunteers, citizens. And that's really gotten lost in this country. And there are a number of big reasons for that. That problem is getting worse, not better. So when I was trying to figure out, okay, how the heck do we make good things happen at our society through government, I realized that our political system right now had to be part of the solution. And so that's what I'm working on now. And it's really exciting because there's such a thirst and a desire for something that's positive and unifying and helps bring Americans together. That helps us solve some of the problems that lie in front of us that are unfortunately getting worse. Not better. So really kudos to all of you for being here to support this organization and its work, those of you who volunteer in particular. And I will say, I'm going to take it as a personal affront if you don't set a new fundraising record here tonight. You know what I mean? So who's with me on that? So I'm going to check up on it. It's incredible to be among people who are just doing the work that our government is not, really. You know, that you're just stepping up to do it because you know it's the right thing to do. You could do anything else with your time and your resources, but you've chosen to help the neediest among us. I am now, I think, going to take some moderated questions through my friend Andy Parker, but I did want to comment for a moment as I was sitting here. I thought to myself, how many wedding parties have gotten down in this room? You know what I mean? Do you all feel that? I felt like I was like spiritually sitting where people had, you know, and had gotten down. I almost asked everyone to get up and dance. This is a soiree, right? Right.
So you've got the lavalier mic.
Oh yeah, I can move off. It's fine.
I think, Sarita, I think you had a question for Andrew. Am I up? There she is in the back there.
Andrew, thank you for being here tonight with us. This is a very important moment for New Covenant Center because it is meaningful. This is our biggest benefit. My question to you is, how do you see our mission align with your goals that need similar help as our clients?
Thank you, Sarita. I think our goals are completely aligned, just in that we know that we have the ability to improve people's lives, certainly to make them feel like they're secure in their future. And there are different ways to do that. I tried to do that through the federal government, which I'm going to suggest is one of the most daunting, difficult paths to do it. I do want to briefly digress for a moment and say that in 2020, after the end of my campaign, I was inspired by an Onion article I read that said the American people hire their own lobbyists to fight for their interests on Capitol Hill, and there's a guy with a suit being like, "No, they'll take us seriously." I thought this was the funniest story, circa 2011 when I read it. So in 2020, I actually hired a dozen DC lobbyists to fight for anti-poverty measures on Capitol Hill, and they're doing that to this day. It's called Humanity Forward. They go to members of Congress and say, enhanced child tax credit. Wouldn't that be a great thing to continue indefinitely, given that it has reduced the poverty level for something like half of the kids who are under the poverty level previously? So believe it or not, I have a dozen lobbyists making that case in DC every single day. I imagine that most of you are probably for something like that, something that helps pay for children and keep them out of poverty. But in the absence of that kind of measure at the government level, we just need to feed our people. We can't wait. We have to step up and do what we can do, and that's what New Covenant Center does every day.
Does anyone else have a question? Well, up. Ashley? Up, okay. We have a few. That's good.
What am I doing now? Oh, thank you for asking. I appreciate that. All right, I'll give you the timeline. So, run for president, suspend in 2020. I then campaigned for Joe because I think Trump's terrible, and anything we can do to get him out. And then during that time, I wrote a book about, it was like a discovery process for me, where I was trying to figure out why I felt like our system was so stuck and why we were so polarized. So here's why we're so polarized. What is the national approval rate for US Congress as we're here together tonight? I'm anchoring you low because it is quite low. It's about 20%. 4 out of 5 of us don't like what's going on. What is the re-election rate for the average incumbent?
Big.
94%. It's like if you're a sports fan, it's a better win rate than the Jordan era Bulls or the. So you have this massive disparity in what we think or what we want, and then what's actually happening with our representatives. Now, then you ask, why is this? It turns out that 90% of our congressional races are non-competitive in the general. If you get through to the general, you win. The only way you can lose your job if you're an incumbent is if you get primaried by someone within your own party. So then if you're a Democrat, your incentive is just to avoid getting primaried, and if you're a Republican, it's the same. So if you're a Republican who's trying to avoid getting primaried, what does that do? That pushes you to the extreme. Democrats, it's a different set of incentives, but it's similar. So then you have these two camps where their job security depends on not coming together and doing anything, but just staying over here and blaming the other side. And that actually will increase, not decrease, their job security. So this is the system that we have. And then we have media organizations that divide us into ideological camps, and then social media pours gasoline on the whole thing, and it gets worse, not better. That's the situation in American politics today. So then you ask, well, how the heck can you fix this? And what I'm working on, to your question, is a new third party called the Forward Party, not left or right, but forward, that's going to unify people who are moderates on both sides, Republicans who are not Trump fans, Democrats who think that the party is not necessarily meeting its goals. It turns out that now 62% of Americans want an alternative beyond the two parties. And so we need to, if Andy characterized me as an entrepreneur, which I believe myself to be, if you were to go to a market and find that there were two providers and 62% of people wanted something new, then you would rush to create a third provider. So that's what we're doing with the Forward Party, and I'm happy to say that by the end of next month, we're going to be the largest third party in the country by a factor of 3. So this is what I'm working on right now.
So I think we have time for 2 more questions.
Hi, Mr. Young. I have a question about technology. Technology now is seen as good and bad. but it's certainly powerful. How do organizations like New Covenant Center take advantage of that technology to further the mission and do what they can do? Because regardless of what people talk about, the big tech companies and all of that, there's still a power that they can leverage. How would an organization like the New Covenant Center leverage that technology?
It's a great question. I'm going to tell a quick side story. So I worked at CNN briefly as a contributor, and during that time, they were developing a TV show for me. It was called The Future of with Andrew Yang. I was going to go through the future of this, the future of that, the future of this. And then at some point, they said, you know what? We're not going to pursue this TV show because it turns out people feel negatively about the future. It makes them feel bad, not good. Oh, it's a true story. So when you ask how technology can be used by something like New Covenant Center, first I would say that the heart of what you do is probably not something that you need technology to deliver. I mean, it's genuinely like the food, the face, the welcome, like that stuff's not really like technologically based and inclined. To the extent that you would want to leverage technology, it might be around trying to get more resources in, fundraising, storytelling, things along those lines to try and draw people in. Possibly you could do something that's trying to uplift people or let them know that you are there to be able to help them. You could use technology in that direction. But I think your offering is very, very human, and I don't think that's anything you should, be looking to change.
I got one more.
Hi, Andrew. I had a quick question. So I first heard of your campaign back in summer of 2019, so pre-COVID, and it was the line at Warped Tour in Atlantic City. And for anybody that doesn't know, this is a punk rock festival that had gone on for 20 years, and there were so many of your supporters in the line in 90-degree weather, handing out stickers, giving out information. And it felt really interesting to see that was kind of like the demographic that was really on board with all your beliefs and support systems. So I was wondering, what do you think is so radical, when you think about affordable housing, the accessibility to food and to job security that, needs to change nowadays for this to not just be like a topic for millennials, Gen Z kids to like really be a part of, so that we can all be on board on the same page? Because this was something back in 2019 that was like, wow, this is so great to see, the support coming to the young people. What can we do, to really influence this as a countrywide movement?
Well, thank you. I find myself being like, I'm like, I could have gone to the Warped Tour and like seen some volunteers and the rest of it. Another aside, I'm the first candidate in political history to win the Iowa youth poll and not win the actual caucus. So if they'd cut off voting at approximately age 19, also would be our president. So young people got excited about my campaign, I think, for a number of reasons. One is maybe they just liked the idea of getting $1,000 a month, but there was also a sense that I was from outside the system. I was new. I was younger than most of the other candidates, certainly younger than our likely nominees this time around. Like, because 2024 coming soon. No,
So-
that's terrible. So to answer your question, young people are smart, and if you go to them with a conventional ask, be like, hey, vote, do this stuff, they're like this, like, like I don't think that's really going to produce the change that I necessarily want. But in my campaign, they thought, like, you know what, this might have a chance. Like, this might have a chance if enough of us get behind it, and it kind of drew that energy. For the Gen Xers here in the room, too, Weezer played my Iowa campaign event. It was called Yang-a-Palooza, and Rivers Cuomo was on the stage like this. And I got to rock out next to him. It's like a Gen X dream. I had so many Gen X dreams come true. We kind of captured that alternative energy. I joked that people realized that the establishment would never send the anonymous Asian guy who wants to give everyone money. So young people captured that anti-establishment fervor. It's open right now what that will look like in the future. I think that Trumpism actually represents like a dark version of anti-establishment fervor. The question is, can there be a positive version of anti-establishment fervor in the time that we have? That is the biggest open question in American life right now. Yeah, and I can go into that in some detail, but that gives you a sense of what I think young people need. Young people want a sense of hope and energy and optimism that's anti-establishment that might actually improve their lives.
So I'm going to break the rules and ask one more question. Andrew, what makes you optimistic?
Groups like this make me optimistic. Again, folks like you who just want good things for the people in your community, want them for your own families first and foremost, but then want to extend that to others. I've now talked to, as you can imagine, tens of thousands of Americans in person. Most Americans are good. Most Americans are cordial. Most Americans are certainly not like virulently anti Asian, as an example. I ask all the time. It's like, hey, you were in, like a lot of environments. It's like, like Americans are good. Americans are being let down by institutions, by the political establishment, by the media establishment, by certainly these tech companies again are awful and toxic. Just another brief aside. Facebook has been essentially demonstrated to have a massive negative correlation with democratic expansion worldwide. It's like if Facebook shows up, then the democracy backslides into authoritarianism. If Facebook does not show up, then the democracy survives. Does this also sound familiar to you all? So we have these cascading institutional failures because our government is so backwards and polarized and dysfunctional. So that's the key to trying to unlock. You can't solve the other problems if you don't solve this problem. So when you say, what makes me optimistic is that the American people are better than our institutions. The question is, can we actually transform our institutions in the time that we have?
Andrew, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Donate. Record high. I'm counting on you.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Andy Parker. That was very, very interesting. Thanks. It is now my pleasure to introduce Inan Garand as our testimonial speaker this evening. Inan is here with two of her wonderful family, daughter Marta and son Ellie. And unfortunately, Inan's husband, Jean-Baptiste, could not be here with us. In addition, Inan and Jean-Baptiste have 3 other children. And Inan has been a guest in our food pantry for over 10 years and will share her story and her experiences coming to New Covenant Center.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Enon Goend, and we are a food pantry family. One day, a friend referred me to a social worker named Samuel Ambroise. As we start to get to know each other, he brought me to a several program that will help me with my situation at the time. My kids were young. I was only working at ShopRite and was not making enough money. It was not easy for me, my husband, and my family to make ends meet. One program stood out the most, and that was New Convenience Center. Since 2012, I've been coming every month until this day. They assist my family with food, clothes, and other supplies, including toiletries and gift cards. when I first entered the program, my children were still young at that time. A couple of years ago, when the pandemic first began, something terrible occurred in my family. My husband was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. During the time he was waiting to receive a lung transplant. He could not work at all. He was just in our home for a year and a couple of months. Thanks God. He finally received a lung transplant from New York Presbyterian Hospital. Prior to him becoming ill, he always working 2 jobs. One, my husband got ill, I have to work not 1, but 2 jobs. And we also had to have a person come to our home to assist my husband with his delicate condition. In spite of his situation, I was still working 2 jobs as a certified nursing assistant. When New Convenience Center found out about my situation, they immediately take action by sending grocery cards, clothes, items, and anything vital. All that really served as an extra hand to my family. This donation from New Convenience Center has made a big difference to my family. I am sure that this program has helped families before me, and we continue to help other families in need. Thank you, everybody, for supporting New Convenience Center. When you help others, you can make a difference. And I am proof that you can make a difference. When people like me come to the US, many times we don't have much. When you donate, you open a door of opportunity for hardworking people like me. Because of New Convenience Center and Samuel Ambroise, my situation changed and improved over time. If I have a need after paying my bills, I know I can come to New Convenience Center for food and other items to help my family fill the gaps. Thank you from me and my family. Thank you, New Convenience Center, for choosing me, and may God bless you.
Sorry.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Is this on?
Hello? Maybe mine is on too much.
This isn't on. Oh, yes, it is. I think it's on. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me anyway. So my name is Mike Donahue. I'm the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Fairfield County. For those of you who I don't know, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight and coming out to support New Covenant Center. And John, I love how you do this to me every year. You ask me to speak after someone like Inan, who just an amazing, beautiful, wonderful story. And Anon, we're the ones who were blessed to be able to help you, a hardworking individual who's come here and fell on some hard times, but New Covenant Center is blessed to be able to help you. And there's so many others like you that it's thanks to all of you out there that we're certainly happy to be able to help in your time of need. So just a couple things. John, of course, thanked everybody else when he first came up here, but you know, what New Covenant Center has done over the last several years and during the pandemic, it wouldn't have happened without great leadership. And John, you've done just a fantastic job. I want to reiterate one thing that might have slipped past. And John said this earlier. So since the pandemic began, we have been open at New Covenant Center every single day since the pandemic began. And that's 7 days a week, okay? 2 meals every single day, 1 meal on Sunday. With all the sickness and all the COVID going around, the fact that we've been open every single day is heroic. So thank you to John and the team. And just a little bit about what New Covenant Center is about. I hope you caught in the video, the first star in the video that came up was a gentleman by the name of Chef Rene. Rene is there in the back. So Rene is typical of a lot of the people who work at New Covenant Center. But so Rene is an immigrant from Mexico, trained as a chef, and when the pandemic began, he lost his job. And I know he was struggling, didn't have a huge amount of savings, but even though he lost his own job, he wanted to do something to give back, and he started volunteering at New Covenant Center. So here he's unemployed, but he's got a skill as a chef, and we typically, have hundreds of volunteers, and if you remember March of 2020, everybody was sequestered in their home, wiping down their groceries, and we lost a lot of our volunteers. In fact, we asked a lot of our volunteers to stay home, right? We were all supposed to be at home. Guess who shows up? Rene shows up and says, hey, I'm a trained chef. Could you use some help? And absolutely could we use some help. And 5-6 days a week, from the beginning of the pandemic, for 6 months, Chef Rene showed up. And and I don't know about you, but it touched me when he talked about, stirring the food, and the most important ingredient was love. That no human being should ever go hungry. And I'm really happy that Chef Rene is now a full-time employee in our kitchen. Persevered. And Rene, muchas gracias, senor. We really appreciate everything that you've done. So thank you. The other thing that I just wanted to talk about, and Andrew Yang touched on it, our society these days is so polarized, whether it's politics or so many other different things. What I love about New Covenant Center is this is just an amazing interfaith group. Yes, we're Catholic Charities, but there's so many different churches and synagogues all over this area that band together to make sure no one goes hungry. I always love the fact that there's the 2 synagogues in Stamford show up on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to make the meals at New Covenant Center because they know it tends to be a big day for the Christian community. So this is an interfaith effort of us all working together. And that's the way it should be. No matter who our maker or spiritual, whatever God you believe in, I'm sure that God doesn't believe that anyone should go hungry at any time, right? And Karen said it so well right at the beginning. In Fairfield County, with all this wealth, no one should ever go hungry. And thanks to so many of you out there who are volunteers and donors and make sandwiches at home, people in this area are not going hungry thanks to the work that New Covenant Center does. It was difficult during the pandemic. As you know, the pandemic doesn't ever want to end, it seems. But it's not over. In fact, it's even getting worse with inflation and food prices. Imagine trying to make ends meet on $15 an hour with the cost of food and gas and everything else in this area. So, you know, we're about to do a call to charity. I know this is the part when I took this job, it's not the part I was really dying to do. It's like, oh, good, I get to get all my friends together and ask them to give some money. But I think for all of us, when you think about, I can't imagine being at a point in my life where I have to make a decision whether we should pay rent and be homeless or put food on the table for my family. And thanks to New Covenant Center, that's not going to happen. And I hope you'll try to dig deep today. And so many of you have already been donors and supporters and done so much. But whatever you can do, we do. It does cost us about $1.2 million every year to keep New Covenant Center open and active. And we certainly couldn't do it without all of you and all of your support. So with that having been said, John, let's get this rolling. Does everybody might have a paddle with a number?
Yes, either way.
We're going to try to move this along. I know this can be painful if it moves slowly, so we're going to try to move it along fast. We have some spotters that if you feel moved to make a donation at a certain level, hold that up. The spotters will take your number and you can pay on the way out. I know this isn't always, if you don't want to do this publicly, you can go over to see Ashley over in the corner and she'll be happy to take your donation quietly and privately if you prefer to do it that way.
You can also donate from your donor advised fund, or you can investigate whether your company would do a matching gift to your gift tonight. That does happen at certain companies. And you can see Betsy Lopez in the back, or you can just check your program to contact Betsy at any time after this event.
All right, John, why don't you
Onward
get
we
us
go.
rolling?
Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are embarking on new initiatives at New Covenant Center. Every day, Merritt Freeman rescues food in our trustworthy van. It has been old reliable, but it's time to retire her, coming off the Kentucky Derby, right? Look at that. Look at the beautiful roof design. Isn't that nice? Yeah, we have about 15 years of service in that van. So we could rescue far more donated food if we had a vehicle that looked and performed like that one. There's a new vehicle. There we go.
Oh, there it is. Okay. There we go.
All right. And actually, we're going to get one that has 4 wheels in the back that will support 12,000 pounds of cargo. And that will allow Merritt to pick up to 3 pallets of food, which is tremendous. It's a lot of food. And I know Food Rescue's in the room, and I'm sure they would be very happy to hear that. So, a $10,000 or larger donation will help jumpstart us to purchase this beautiful vehicle with more capacity and a safer one. Or you can also provide 1 year of food pantry groceries for 10 families of 4 people each. $10,000 for New Covenant Center.
Anybody? Andy Parker, thank you. Number
161.
Thank you, Andy. Much appreciated. Number 288, Liza and Chris Pohl, thank you. You guys are so generous, much appreciated. Anyone else at the $10,000 level? Thank you so much.
I have a nice announcement to make just prior to coming back.
Right.
One of our donors called one of our board members. Unfortunately, that person couldn't be here today and has also pledged $10,000.
Great, thank you. All right, let's move to the next level, John.
Okay. So I go to this card. $5,000 covers 2,000 well-balanced dinners in the cafe. That's an average of about 100 guests. $5,000 will pay for 3 weeks of complete dinners. $5,000.
Thank you. 300 in the back, Sarita, thank you so much. Number 264, Michael, thank you so much.
So that's Mike McNulty or Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's Mike Boyd. Thank you, Mike, for Mike Boyd. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. All right, going once at $5,000, going twice. Let's go to the next level. Thank you, John.
For $2,500, That would provide 1,250 nutritious lunches, which translates to 2 weeks of complete lunches for 100 guests per meal. $2,500.
All right, in the front here, number 296, Linda and Bruce Coe, thank you. Right there, number 289, thank you so much. Number 299, thank you very much. Number 151, Mike McNulty. That's the McNulty number, thank you. Number 267, thank you, Julia and Paul. Number 193, thanks so much. Number 270, Lisi, thank you very much.
Mike, that's a great roll on the right side. I'll take it over on the left side.
My side's beating your side, John.
All right, keep track. Come on, left side.
Kicking your butt, John. All right, here we
268, thank you very much. And Virginia Wong, board member, 275. Thanks so much.
Thank
Anybody
you,
else?
Considines. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. All right, that's great. Let's keep it rolling, John. Let's go to the next level.
$1,000 provides 250 crucial winter items for our guests. We just came off the winter. It was very helpful. This includes a seat cushion, socks, underwear, and toiletry products. $1,000 provides 250 of those items.
You can help us with $1,000. All right, here, number 152. Thank you, Jim Buchanan. Thank you, number 234, Judy and Todd. Thank you so much. That's your side, John.
Well,
Go
there's
ahead.
one in the middle.
Oh, one in the middle. I'll take that. Number 153. Thank you so much.
120,
much appreciated.
121. Thank you very much.
Thank
301. Thank you. And 155. Very much appreciated at $1,000. And 118.
118.
In the back. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Right.
All right, $1,000 going once, twice. Let's move on, John, to the next level.
Thank you all. $500.
Let's move these. All
We'll
right.
provide meals and groceries. If we don't have we're in the business of meals and groceries, but if we don't have electricity, that's a big problem. So $500 will pay for 2 weeks of storing donated and prepared food. Oh, terrific.
$500, $297. Thank you very much. $297. $291 over here. Thank you very much.
That,
Much
by the way, that
appreciated.
is Ben LaRose, the executive chef
All right,
at Capitol
Ben.
Grill. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much. Number 198, Pilar. Thank you very much. Number 236, they're in the back. Number 128, also in the back. Thanks so much. Number 152, thank you. We got 228. Take it away, John.
All right, we'll split the middle, though, when we account.
All right, we got over here number 126, Phil Shalala. Phil, thank you very much.
Karen McNair, thank you, 202.
Thank you, Karen.
Sorry, at 237, thank you very much. 190, I appreciate it, thanks. In the back, 281. 148 at $500. Anybody else, please? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your generosity. We're almost done. A couple more quick levels.
All right,
John,
$170,000, if we can keep it going. We talked about a $10,000 donation earlier, providing 40 people with 1 year's worth of food pantry groceries. That means you can make it possible for one person to get groceries for $250 for 1 year. Think about that. One person, $250. I'll start on my side, left side. Arms up. Thank you very much. 192. Thank you. 232. 233. 156. Thank you. 284. 122 and 240. Thank you all very much.
All right, we got 146 over here. We have number 200. Thank you so much. We have number 114, thank you. Number 145, thank you. Number 272, thanks very much. All right, fantastic. I think we've got one final level. Thank you, everybody, for your generosity.
All right, let's get to $175,000. Covers for $100 covers 3 weeks of supplies for our to-go meals for our guests and the clients of our partners. These supplies are very important, the containers that are sealed in heavy bags. Okay, $100. I'll start on the left again.
Your side, yep.
Okay. $279, thank you. $199, $202.
Oh, 202 twice.
Okay.
How about that? You
Okay.
got that.
All right, so we got 202. Thank you, Barbara Grasso. 163, 229. Sally Kelman, thank you so much. 157.
You're forgetting 147.
Oh,
147 in the front. 274,
147.
thank you.
So much.
Number 146, thanks so much. Number 291, thank you. Number 269, awesome. Thank you very much, everybody. And that brings our call to charity to an end. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much for everything you're doing for our New Covenant Center. Many, many thanks.
Just one housekeeping thing. For those of you who chose not to raise your paddle tonight, you can see Ashley in the corner there if you want to make a donation. The bar will be open until 9 p.m. We are almost complete. If you just hang in a few more minutes. Thank you very much. Mike?
Okay, one couple final things to wrap up. First of all, I want to thank representatives from Foundations and Charity. Foundations and Charity is a relatively new foundation formed in the We Stand With Christ campaign that supports our work at Catholic Charities. Michael McNulty is here from Foundations and Charity. And where's Al Barber? Al was here. Al was here. Al may have left. Okay. The final thing we want to do is just, I want to recognize the board chair of New Covenant. New Covenant Center has an advisory board. For the last 4 years, Tom Kane has been the leader of that advisory board. So, as you all know, serving on one of these boards is a labor of love. It's a lot of time. But being the chair of these boards is even more time, energy, and attention. It's often herding cats, but it's really important. And during Tom's tenure, he's really overseen the biggest growth and probably the most successful 4 years of New Covenant Center's growth over the last 4 years. He's added to the board. What I love is also formed a young person's advisory board, so we've got a bunch of young people who are now involved, recruited some fantastic people to the board. And without any further ado, let me hand it over to Tom. Thank you.
Make this, I know people want to get out of the room. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Kane. I'm the chairman of, is this thing working? Oh, there we go, okay. I'm the chairman of New Covenant Center's advisory board. I'd like to thank you all of you in the room for attending our 18th annual celebrity soiree. I had this somewhat dry written thank you to you, Andrew Yang, but I'll scrap that and just say, listen, thanks so much for coming in. I think that you've gained a lot of supporters here, and really just want to, and what I'll say, what our common thread is, all of us, I think there are a whole lot of scrappers in the room, and I'm just saying, as your friend, stick with it, and going on from there. In addition, of course, goes without saying, not without saying, John Gutman, you are a superstar. Thank you so much. God bless you, John. I don't mind telling you that periodically I sort of chase, look, I work between 7-something and 5, 6, 7, and then I'm trying to chase John down. He works the same hours, and then I'm trying to speak with him after or before that or on weekends. So that's been, for several years now. But John, you do just an outstanding job of managing New Covenant Center. And then, of course, to the staff that runs it, and thank you all. At this time, I'd like to give a lot of recognition to my fellow board members. Many of them have been active in supporting NCC for many years. We work closely with John and his team. Their board members' activities include working in the kitchen and the food pantry, assisting at the food drives, and of course, assisting New Covenant Center events such as tonight, contributing some of their own funds, by the way, in addition to fundraising. And thank you. Some of our board members in the room tonight, can I ask them to stand? They include Phil Shalala. Phil? I know you're there somewhere. Phil Shalala. Laura Arbachon. Laura Arbachon. Thanks, Laura. Sarita Hanley, of course, who I was told more or less she didn't want to join our board. helps out with everything around the block. And then I sort of called her up, I think it was on a Sunday night, to plead with her, would she please join our team? And thank God she agreed to do that. Paul Herenstein is not here tonight. I understand he's not feeling so well, so we hope he's well. Jose Rivera is in the room. One of our absolutely best members, been with the board now a couple of years, is that right? Jenny Wong is here. Jenny, great to see you, Jenny. Scott Bewley. Scott Bewley. I told Scott that I would come in and help babysit a little bit, and with Marie, we'd go in and give them a break and stuff, watch his son or something, to be helpful. 90-minute cap on that. Okay, and lastly, Andy Parker. God bless you, Andy. Thank you. Thanks. One thing I've done, we've been able to attract very good people to New Covenant Center, to the board, and to all the volunteers and all that. Andy, thank God, he agreed to take chair of this event. He's put in a tremendous amount of time. Not just, I mean, literally calling up groups to see if they'll contribute, dialing for dollars. God bless you, Andy. You're my guy. Lastly, I'll ask Niels Dahl. Niels Dahl, if he would come up to the podium. As Niels is approaching the podium, I wanted to inform you all that I'll be ending my position as chair of New Covenant Center Advisory Board effective June 30 of this year. Niels will be taking over the helm at that. Niels has been on the board for about 5 years. He knows all the inner workings we've done. Thank God he looks over the money, and he's been sort of our unofficial treasurer and CFO and so forth, and he just has been doing a great job at advising John on the cash flows and so forth. Aside from that, so he's been serving on the board 5 years. You have a little background on Niels. He grew up in a large and happy family in Rhode Island. His family instilled upon Niels the strong love of community and compulsion to give back. Niels has excellent relationship skills. He's a great family man and very dedicated to his wife Christine and daughter Andy. Niels is a graduate of Georgetown U and has led a very successful career in banking. Let's all give a big round of applause for Niels. Now you can chase John down. All right. A couple of words?
Just a couple of words. Thank you very much, Tom. It has been, a pleasure and inspiring working with you on the board. As Mike said, that the last 4 years the trajectory of New Covenant Center has just kept going up and up and up, and especially during the pandemic, it's been inspiring. And this is when I was asked to accept. You don't know whether it's congratulations or condolences. But when you work with a team like John Gutman and his team, and Betsy Lopez and David Lovegreen and Lisa Hines Simpson and Chef Renee and Raphael, where's Raphael? He's out there. It is so easy to say, whatever I can do, I will help. So I'm honored to follow the amazing work Tom has done and to do whatever I can do to support John Gutman and the people who work for him and all the volunteers and all the supporters and donors out there. Thank you very much. And Sarita, you've got a lot of work to do the next few years.
Yeah. All right, great. Thanks, brother. God bless. Okay, Sarita reminded me I have the last word. Ooh, that's a little scary, right? We'll wind down now tonight. I do have one other fond memory that came up, and that's that when Mike Donahue first took the job, head of Catholic Charities, we sort of cornered him in our boardroom. We had a meeting of the advisory council and all that, and this is at the beginning of 2/20. And then I said, Mike, it looks pretty darn apparent. We're going to have a deficit this year because our fiscal year is end of June. So we were halfway through the year, and it looked blatantly clear that we were going to have not a surplus, we're going to have a deficit of probably darn near $500,000, 400,000 more closely. And then, you know, Mike sort of felt like he was in the hot seat. He handled it fine. He's a big guy. We ended up, we got through the rest of the year, through June and so forth. And thank God, I mean, we had certain donations that came in and all that. We actually, we had a surplus of a few $100,000. So things have just been going extremely well for New Covenant Center. And we hope Neil's the team and all that will take it to the next level. Just sort of my closing words are, please, you know, we'd like to think that you'll adopt New Covenant Center as the charity of your choice. You have a lot of different options there and all that. We've lost many volunteers that have been coming in to help prepare meals or to assist in the food pantry where we distribute to our clients. Your donations and time go directly into helping our fellow members of the community. Thanks a lot, and good night. Good to see you.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you all. The bar will be open for another 10 minutes. If you'd like to linger, we'd love to have you stay. Thank you very much.